Welcome back, y'all. Good one for you today. Marcus McMarion, the real MM2. This is the second time that he's been on it. If you want to hear his story about college and playing at Fresno State and all that stuff, go back, scroll through the episodes, and you'll see Marcus McMarion's episode with just you and I talking about the struggles, football, everything that he had to overcome, playing that. So we're not going to get into that today. Marcus now, his new position is he's the GM of NIL for Fresno State. So you help players not be poor, basically.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, no, basically. So basically just kind of connecting them with businesses, local businesses, kind of letting them use their name, image, and likeness to kind of get in front and advertise for businesses.
That's what I was going to ask. What exactly is NIL?
Yeah, so NIL stands for name, image, and likeness, and essentially it's just giving these guys a platform to use their image. To where I know when we were all in college, if you're playing, even if I went to like a doghouse or like a meat market, I couldn't even take a picture of it and say, hey, this place is good. I'd get like a text message saying, hey, this is a violation. You can't
couldn't do that? Because it's technically like
me promoting the business. Like I couldn't do that.
Even if you didn't get paid?
100%. Yeah, no, they're on that, dude. Like texting, you can't do that. Like I would have someone in compliance text me saying, hey, take it down.
Did you have a lot of? I know, Kenny, you didn't because nobody cares about linemen. But Marcus, everybody cares about the quarterback. Did you have a lot of people trying to like get you to promote their stuff, kind of like under the table, not like getting paid? But
yeah. I mean, you kind of have people reach out to you, and kind of some people try to play with the line. But even like something as simple of like, I don't know, we go to like a Chick-fil-A or something like that, and then someone would like, oh, you're the quarterback. You had a really good game last week. Let me pay for your meal. And sometimes they'd pay for it. It's like a $6 hamburger, and I'd be scared out of my mind. Like, dude, I'm gonna lose my eligibility. Yep. Like, I can't do this. Like, I hope nobody saw this. They just paid for my sandwich and my drink. So it's like that's just like
so you can.
Baseline,
I know you can technically get in trouble for that, but if you don't know, like, what are they gonna do?
That happened to me once. I was at Sakura Chai, and there was like 5 or 6 of us who were sitting at a teppanyaki table, like lunch special, so it wasn't like crazy expensive.
Yeah,
and a friend of the program just like paid our bill, and I was just like, what do we do? Like, it's like
no, and that's to the extent though that like NIL like relaxes that whole situation to where it's not even like, hey, this donor walked up to me at Sakura Chai and gave me $2,000 in my pocket. Like, that stuff wasn't really happening, at least not here. But it's like little acts like that. It's like maybe someone's just trying to do it out of their kindness of their heart. Like, oh, you know what?
Or maybe
those
Fresno
football
State
players
was the only team that was like living by the rules.
yeah,
for real.
Potentially. Yeah.
Dude, I've heard some stories of like,
dude,
of players of like.
Yeah, I got a buddy at Bama too.
Yeah, one of the buddies at Bama. He was like, I took a pay cut coming to the NFL.
Yeah, jeez, bro. Yeah, no, I
remember getting stuff when I would go on visits. Yeah. I didn't even go to school. I would just go on visits and they would give me stuff.
Yeah, no, I had a buddy said, I guess at Bama, all of them work at a golf course, and they, hey, thanks for the beer. Here's $500 or whatever.
$500 tip.
Yeah, $500 tip, you know.
Oh, but they technically be employees. They gave them a job.
Yeah, they gave them a job.
That's how Nick Saban got around it. And now with like the NIL, it's kind of even the playing field, and Bama's not as dominant as they once were because now everybody can pay like Bama can pay, right?
No, for sure. And it's crazy, too, because, I mean, you definitely have the levels to it. I mean, you have some of these. It's weird. I actually just saw an article the other day. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I was so confused. I read it in like 3 separate articles, and it kept referring to the Power 4. And I was like, what the hell is the Power 4? And I was like, the Power 4. I kept reading it.
No more.
And I realized, I was like, there's no more Power 5. There's no Pac-12 conference anymore. So I was like, they're referring to like the Power 5, but there's no more Power 5.
Dude.
So that was weird to see. But so the Power 4, I mean, it's almost like they're playing in a completely different planet. I mean, even between Washington and Oregon, remember talking with DeBoer when he was at Washington, he was saying, if USC or Oregon is recruiting the kid at Washington, they wouldn't even look at him anymore because then it just turns into a bidding war, and that's what they were trying to avoid.
And they can't keep up.
Yeah, right? It's like at that point, and that's where Fresno's different. Like Tedford said, he doesn't even talk to kids about NIL. Like, hey, that's not why you're coming here. Like, you're coming here.
Yeah, go talk to Marcus about that.
Yeah, go talk to the collective. Yeah, go talk to the collective. That's not us. So I think the biggest thing is where we've made the distinction, like, hey, go talk to the collective. But even from the collective perspective, if you haven't proven your roster value or your ability to contribute to the team, we're not putting freshmen on we're not paying freshmen, unless you're a proven guy and you're a Mountain West first team all Mountain West, or you've proven something, or you have some notoriety around your name now, then it's like,
that's coming from Tedford, or that's just all around Fresno State?
Yeah, so that's as far as what?
Like
Who gets
that-
selected?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of. I mean, we're the collective is the head of it, so we're deciding it. To where obviously we try to get input from different.
But if the head coach
Around
comes
it.
to you and say like, "I want this guy to take care of him," you're gonna do what he says,
Yeah.
or is it,
Typically.
or is it completely two separate things?
Yeah. As of right now, the line's kind of drawn to where we 100% handle it. I guess coaches could have an influence if the NCAA starts to allow it to be fully like.
But the kids, the players still get scholarships.
Yep.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
So then that's
this
the other
is
thing
just
too. Yeah.
outside of it.
Correct. So this is on top of their scholarship. So that's where guys like me and Kenya are like, dude, like I have some kids will try to bait me into saying, oh, I don't have enough to pay for stuff. I'm like, dude, I was in college. I had a scholarship. You have enough to pay for your water bill. I know you do. So it's like stuff like that. But
Don't buy the Jordans that got
yeah,
released,
don't buy the
and you'll be
Jordans.
fine.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know?
little stuff like that.
This
So
is true.
it's like I know you have enough to pay. Again, are guys rich? No. I mean, I remember being in
Is it?
college and guys
I'm blurry
having.
as shit. What is that? I know that's not good.
Oh, that
Look
is-
at Marcus.
that
He's
is
so blurry, man. Oh.
Oh no.
Oh man, I told you your one job is to make me look better than Kenny, and I look up at the screen and that's just blurry.
It
just
never
blurry?
happens. It never happens.
Oh man.
Dang, good
Sorry,
thing you caught
sorry.
that, dude.
I mean, it's just right in front of me. That's why. And then I cause you know
Oh, damn.
I need to. That's what I'm saying.
Kenny's looking good, man. That's a tough look on
Kenny's
you.
looking good.
That's a tough look
Dude.
on you. But no, I was just kind of saying. I mean, I remember the end of the month rolling around. I had like guys, like some guys are bad with money. I'm sure you've experienced. But it's like the 23rd, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have any money. Like I literally have negative $20 in my bank account. Can you pay for my food?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got $300, dude. I'm rich, you know. Like, yeah, dude, I'm
Dude, then,
balling."
like, when something would happen, like to your car or something like that, where like you had to get new tires, and it's
Oh
like
yeah. Oh, it's a wrap.
you're like
Yeah.
you're done. Like you're
Yeah.
like you're screwed. Like luckily, the guy I lived with in college, his mom would like load us up with food like at our
Yeah.
house. So like we always had at least food.
Yeah.
I remember like it would be like the 10th of the month, and I can't put gas in my car.
Dude, yeah.
So I'm like, hey, can I get a ride?
No.
Or rode my bike to school and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like,
No.
dude, it was a struggle. I look
Yeah.
back on those times like, how did I like survive? Like
But you didn't.
it was
you didn't-
normal.
Yeah,
Especially
you
making
didn't
money
understand
now,
it
you're like,
until
how did
now.
I live off of
Yeah.
that? You know,
Yeah.
like what? Like our scholarship check was, I think, $1,700 when I played,
My
and now I'm like, with my kids and my wife, if I had $1,700, like I couldn't pay for anything.
my scholarship check was like $640.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
yeah.
my rent and the Bulldogs was $420.
Whew. Yeah,
So
that's
I
about
had
what it is now.
240 for the whole month.
Yeah. Get creative, baby.
I mean, you guys get food though, right?
We got breakfast and dinner. We did not get lunch.
So you were on
It's
your
about
own
the
for
same now,
lunch.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you basically were living,
During season, we got breakfast and dinner. During off season, we only got breakfast.
Yeah.
Are you,
Just let that sink for a little
can
bit.
you have a job like technically? Like you don't have time to probably. but
Technically,
can you
yeah,
have-
Technically,
but-
you can, but you can't.
but
you
technically,
can't.
no.
Yeah. So like during the summer, I don't know if they still do this or did this when you were there, but I was so far. My last 2 years, I was so far ahead in my degree that they didn't offer any of the summer school classes for my like degree. So they gave me a job. I was a custodian at Fresno State.
Jeez.
Every handrail in Bulldog Stadium, the blue handrails, I painted those.
This is great. This is an
I
exclusive,
swear,
right
I swear
here.
to God. I remember when the old track field, how they had that big
Probably the
berm.
last time they got painted too. when
No
Kenny
doubt.
Wiggins
No doubt.
painted them.
Look how much paint is like on the steps, like just spilling it everywhere, bro. Dude, I
That's
changed
hilarious.
every light bulb in the Duncan building, and like I mucked the horse stalls for the equestrian team. Dude, I was all over
they're
the place.
grinding.
It was in August.
Jeez.
Wait, so you know how to clean stalls?
They do
Yeah.
that same
Come to
thing
their
now.
house.
I was at a financial advising office though, so a little bit different than you.
Yeah.
That's the difference
you
in a
were- I
quarterback
remember
and
you going-
offensive lineman.
I remember you going to Thiessen Duker.
Yeah,
I remember you there.
I was at Thiessen Duker, you know. Shout out Thiessen Duker. My boy Kenny was at the horse stalls, I guess. So
Kenny's
There was-
cleaning.
There was
poop.
like 10 of us that did it too.
yeah.
Like, man. And then we got to the point where it was like the end of summer, and like we just showed up, and they would unlock the suites up in the stadium,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
just go
Just
up there
go
and watch
chill.
TV.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too. And I bet what they pay you $150.
Oh, it was like minimum wage.
Yeah.
Hourly.
And dudes were pumped though, like, oh,
Well,
dude, I got an extra $200
but it was
or whatever.
but
you
it was in place of our scholarship check, because we didn't get a
know? Oh
scholarship
yeah, in the
check
summer.
because
yeah.
we couldn't be enrolled
Right.
in school because we didn't have
Yeah.
enough credits. Yeah, so it was like summer workouts, right? You had to wake up at 5 or whatever, 6 o'clock workouts and run, and then 8 o'clock be at the job all the way till like 4 or 5, and then we had the coaches or the player led practices at 5 o'clock. So I was there from like 5 to 7 riding my bike because I'm broke, and like I remember the first day I was like, all right, I'm broke. I'm riding my bike to school, riding down Cedar, and right there by University Village, sprinklers come on and it's just drench me. Bro. And I'm just like, I'm so mad, like just like freaking out on my bike at 5:30 in the morning, like cussing, like screaming. It's pitch black, nobody's around. I was like, God damn, what the fuck? Like going, but it just got that's the kind of shit.
They must have learned from when you guys were there, because I know now, like Tedford does it specifically. They cut their checks by like $200 every month, basically. So when that summer rolls around, that excess that they were cutting all year, they have like it's like a half a check or something during the summer.
But I mean, I couldn't have lived during the season without $200.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Yeah, for you in your situation, you had $240 left. You'd have $40 for the month.
That was my freshman year. That was like that was so like later down the road it was like 800 something, 900. I don't think I ever got 1,000. I know I never got 1,000. Yeah, no, it was $1,750 here, but and again same situation though, because I mean obviously rents are through the roof. I mean guys' rents are probably. I know a guy who's living by himself or it's over $1,700, and again, granted, it's like. Maybe you could not live by yourself and save some money. But guys, even if they split, it's like, all right, he's still paying $900 or whatever, and then trying to.
Can you live in the dorms, or is that like only for freshmen?
I don't think there's enough.
I think they give it all to students.
School, it's like
I think it's full with students.
Yeah, there's not enough room in the dorms. Like
where do they don't have like housing for you guys? You have to find it on your own. Or?
So when I was there, they put us in the Bulldogs your freshman. You had to stay in your Bulldogs your freshman year unless you had you were from here and you stayed home. And then I think now it's like the Palazzos. They stay at the Palazzos.
It's kind of between. They have like 3 or 4 things where they rotate guys between. They're like, hey, we suggest most guys stay here. So it's kind of rotates between them.
Yeah, they just set it up for us. They're like, you're staying with this guy, and this guy, and this is your roommate. So
who technically do you work for? Is it the players or is it Fresno State football? Or is it?
It's everyone. So the collective, we actually represent all sports. So if you were to go to Give on the website, just like bulldogbread.com, and you put Give, you could actually choose an athlete, choose a sport. So it would be a drop down.
Basically, to donate to.
Yeah, you could put football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball. You could put anything, or you could just put general fun. But
you're the same as that commercial with the dogs and they're dying and it's raining and they're asking you to donate to the dogs. That's
for 19 cents a day. You can save this dog.
You can save this college football player.
Kenny won't have to ride his bike in the morning.
The picture's me just ride my bike with getting sprayed with sprinklers.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's cool. I mean, we have it open to anyone. Obviously, the biggest money drivers for the university are typically football, basketball, baseball, or in basketball. I don't want to say basketball, men's and women's, as far as driving revenue to the program as a whole. I actually just had a conversation this morning with Toomey, the athletic director, and Mariucci too, and we were just talking. They're like, hey, let's just be honest. I mean, 40,000 people come to watch football play. They're probably going to get
come to watch.
Yeah, they're going to get the majority of the money, So it's just, it just kind of is what it is,
How's their reaction to that?
It's tough because, we're all trying to row in the same direction. Now, obviously, we want the money to go to Fresno State regardless of what pot it is. So we're still trying to kind of figure out the perfect way to kind of move forward with that. But the best thing about it is there is an open line of communication to where we're having weekly, bi-weekly, or at least bi-weekly meetings of hey, let's all get on the same page. What are you working on? What are you working on? How can we kind of help each other? So there's not a perfect answer right now of how we're moving forward. But there is tons of conversations being had, so that's the good part.
So let me I'm gonna double check this. The money that's going to the players is outsourced. It's nothing to do with actual Fresno State.
Correct.
So all the tickets and all the money that Fresno State football is making when 30 or 40,000 go to the games, where does all that money go?
That's an athletics question. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know.
Probably goes to the athletic department.
I do know it gets dispersed though, so probably some of it goes to the foundation, some of it probably goes to athletics, and they kind of have their own budgets and things that they have to oversee, because obviously the Bulldog Foundation is vital. They cover the scholarships, which you can't just get rid of scholarships. We need scholarships to be funded. So I think NIL something kind of more like the cherry on top, to where you could kind of argue it both ways. If you don't have scholarships, you don't have a program. If you don't have NIL, you're not going to have a program. So it's kind of like letting people decide where they want to put it.
So the big schools like Bama and USC and LSU, they have TV deals. They're making millions of dollars per game. None of that it's still not going to the players.
No, and I think that's what I want to say it was Jim Harbaugh. I think right before the national championship, he kind of brought that up and said, like, hey, let's get real. We're making millions of dollars through TV contracts and promotion stuff and advertisements and stuff at the national championship. He kind of advised him, and Chip Kelly, I believe, was in on it too, saying we should just have the athletes as employees of the university, and they should be getting a percentage of the revenue that they're generating, which, I mean, makes the most sense to me.
That's what they wanted this whole time, right?
Yeah.
And basically all they did was allow you to take a picture with somebody and take a free meal.
Yeah.
That's basically all they allowed you to do.
Yeah, and I think the basis of it, too, is I think it just kind of got out of control to an extent to where, like, one of my best friends at Oregon State was Ramel Dockery. He had a huge YouTube channel, and he still has one till this day, but he grew it while he was at Oregon State. He was doing, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, and he was playing games and Call of Duty and streaming, and he was really trick shots, all kind of crazy stuff. But anyways, he grew his YouTube really big and was making money. But the NCAA basically told him, you can't claim it. You have to take all the money. Like, you can't monetize any of your videos. You have to take it down, or you're going to lose your eligibility. So him and it was Destroying was a kicker at UCF. They were kind of like the forefront of NIL before it even was a thing, to where I believe the UCF kicker took it to court, did all these things. He ended up losing in court, but he ended up losing all of his eligibility. He just went the YouTube route to make money. So I think that's what NIL is supposed to kind of be. It's these guys could grow,
So
have
they
their own
don't-
brand.
That's exactly
grow stuff.
two people come to mind. Number one is Garrett Clark from Good Golf. You ever heard of him?
Yes.
Yep.
So he started making YouTube videos, trick shots, and started getting money. And he was uneligible to play college golf.
Yep.
He couldn't play college golf, so he's like, I have to unmonetize all my stuff, sit out for a year, do all this stuff. Basically, like getting your amateur status back, like when you're on the PGA Tour or whatever. Do all that stuff just in order to go play college golf and make zero money, negative money.
Yeah.
And then also, was it Jazz, the little white basketball player with like the hair? He does like all the videos. He's got like millions and millions of subscribers.
He was in the All-Star.
Yep.
The All-Star
Yep.
game. Yeah.
He
The one that talked with Kelsey Plum.
Yes.
Okay. I know
yeah.
that.
So he I can't think of his name right now, but he did the same exact thing. He was starting to make money, and he's good, but he says like I'll never play in the NBA. I could have went like, to a Division II or maybe like a junior college, but he's like, I'm gonna try this YouTube thing.
Yeah.
And his dad, like, he had a talk with his dad. It was like, your dream was to go to high school or college and play,
Right.
and he basically gave it up to try this YouTube dream, and it worked out for both of them. But they had to choose; they didn't have the option. But I think that if they would went to school, they probably wouldn't have had the success they have on social media. But this is kind of allowing them. So now, if these two started now, they'd be able to play college and make their money and do it all at the same time.
Correct. Yeah. So it's really just encouraging guys to use their own brands, their name, image, and likeness to grow. Like if they had their own 1-degree podcast and you're in college, like before NIL, you could do it, like have fun, knock yourself out, but you can't make any money. You can't promote anything on it. Like this would be a violation. Like you couldn't have little bottles like this promoting stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like little stuff like that, to where now if you had, it's like, hey, knock yourself out, make as much money as you want, because you're using your own brand to do it.
So does everybody have to go through you in order to get the players, or can somebody just work a deal straight up with the player? Hey, I want you to help me sell this. We'll do a commercial. We'll pay you X amount.
Yeah. No, people could go directly to athletes and reach out to them. It's just reaching out to the athlete, whether that's through Instagram or however they want to do it. But then there is an app called Open Doors, to where everything is tracked via compliance. So even deals through us, it comes to us. We get it to Aaron Mitchell, who's the on-campus NIL director. He gets it. He takes it to compliance. Compliance runs it through, make sure everything's fine. Okay, we have a paper trail of what the deliverables are, why you're getting the money, what you're doing for the money. So Kenny can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to give this person $10,000. Like it's there has to be some form of deliverables in place that like they're doing this to receive this money.
So it's the same thing. It's just over the table now.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
under the table.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you guys are just helping people use their name, image, and likeness to help them get money to basically survive.
Yeah, correct. And then a lot of it too, I know this upcoming month is just going to be a lot of it's like education too, because I know the first year some guys would get 20,000, 10,000, whatever the case was, but then they'd get a 1099 at the end of the year, and a lot of the guys spent all the money. So it's like, hey, hey, you got a tax from Uncle Sam's coming. Like you got to put like, hey, you got $1,000, but maybe put a little bit of away because you're going to get taxed at the end of the year. So a lot of it's like, hey, let's educate. I mean, when I was in college, I didn't know anything about 1099s or
Nothing.
W-2s, or I just thought it was a job. Hey, a job, I did this, I get paid.
Isn't that
Cool,
crazy?
you know?
Yeah.
How you go to school for like 20 years
You
and
don't
you
think
don't
about it
learn
once.
how to live life.
Yeah.
Isn't that the craziest
It's
thing?
unbelievable.
So educating guys on that, man, just letting them understand it's like, hey, you're going to get 1099, but then in that same breath, it's like, hey, you could grow your own brands, go get your own deals directly with businesses, but build your brand. Like, hey, it's a lot easier.
And you're still gonna have to pay taxes on. Is like,
Yeah,
we will help
100%. Yeah.
You can go out and get your own money, but you better make sure that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can't just be having all this money to spend it, and then
Yeah.
the next year Uncle Sam's like, hey, you owe us
Yeah.
10 grand, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
I have $100. Yeah. So that's the thing too, but letting guys know it's like, hey, if you have 2,000 followers versus if you have 100,000 and 90,000 of them are from Fresno, you probably look a lot more attractive to like a Mayweather Fitness. They're like, oh, I want to work with this kid versus coming out of like desperation, like, hey, give me some money because I play at Fresno State versus they're actually bringing value to the business or company to where we're trying
Helping
to make
the
sure
valley.
there's a value exchange there. You know, it's not just, hey, I'm just giving because I love Fresno State. There's definitely people who do that
Yeah.
and we appreciate it, but we also want to make sure there's some kind of value exchange there.
And it's also like with the like kids going out by themselves too. There's also that opens the avenue for all these other like snaky, sharky people that come in and be like, hey, I can get you this money on the side and do all this kind of stuff, which is another thing that kids are gonna have to like worry about now that they never had to worry about before.
And they grow up faster.
They have to grow up faster and vet people, and that's, I mean, once this all happened, that was like the first thing that popped in my mind was like, there's gonna be so many people coming out of the woodwork saying, I can get you this deal, but if I get you this deal, I get 50%.
Yeah.
And like that's where the kind of the snaky people into this, because when there's money to be made, there's going to be people looking to take advantage of.
Well, that's
of
exactly
kids,
what
right?
that's exactly what they were doing with Johnny Manziel, right?
Yeah.
They were paying him to give his autograph, and then they were selling his autograph to make money. So like everybody's making money off of everything, even though like the NIL deal is helping them make money off their likeness. Somebody else is making money off of them. It's just helped them getting paid for, not getting taken advantage of.
Yeah,
but
and I'm going blank on the top. There's I should know this off the top, man. There's a really big, one of the first marketing platforms to jump on NIL. It's basically like, hey, we're going to feature all the athletes across the country, and we're going to get you guys deal and send people to you to where they were doing that, but they were taking, I think, 20 or like 30% of every deal. It might have been more. I think it was like 35% of every deal. So like, hey, we're feeding you tons of deals. We're making you a ton of money, but they're also kind of lining their own pockets. It's like, okay, well, you're helping technically, but you're taking a good chunk out of it too.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's how do the so you guys both played. How do you feel about it? Number one, now I kind of know your answers, but how do you guys feel about it? And then how do the players now feel about NIL? The only reason why I ask how they feel about it now is because how we talked earlier, all the money that they're making from playing the game, they're not getting any of it. They just have the ability to use their name, image, and likeness outside of the sport.
Yeah.
How do they feel about that, and how do you guys feel about the current NIL?
Yeah. Go for it, Kenny.
I mean, so I always thought when like there was this kind of before the NIL Wild Wild West even happened, I thought that there should be some sort of retirement plan set up for athletes.
Yeah.
Right. So every year you play at Fresno State, say you get X amount of dollars that goes into a Roth IRA or a 401k.
Yeah.
You're teaching these athletes about retirement and saving. You can and compound interest, all that kind of stuff. Because if you give a kid, an 18-year-old kid, and start them on a Roth IRA, when it's 55, it's going to be millions of dollars.
Right.
It depends on how much money you put in there.
But you educate him to continue.
Exactly. So
Thinking
it's like
long-term.
that's what kind of happens with football, right? Like, luckily I was lucky enough to play after college, but a lot of my teammates weren't, right? And they had to go into the real world instantly, right? With no job experience. They have a college degree, yeah, but you played football for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You didn't get to experience life. You didn't get to experience being an employee or going into a job or working for somebody else. You were working for a team. Like you're doing the same thing you were doing in high school.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no growth in the college sports for the average player, right? You could be a great college player. That's fine. But what's next, right? Like and that's what I think the NIL should be setting up for these kids. And even like creating the relationships with different businesses in the valley or wherever they are. Yeah. And
I think that could be something that you guys can 100%. Add to your education thing. Be like, hey, if you are one of the guys that's making, a couple $10,000, here is an option that you guys can do. Number one, it's a tax write-off. You can put it into an IRA. You can set yourself up. Like, I didn't think that you'd ever come up with something like that, Wiggins. That's
oh no, good. Dude! I thought
he's
about
been
that.
dropping some ideas,
right?
Man. Yeah,
I thought
he's
that,
about
like,
to get hired
nice,
if he keeps on going, man.
We can talk.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, dude, it's such like an easy way to like for the like university to like that could be coming like from the university, right? That's from like profit share. That's and to get it, you have to graduate.
Yeah.
Or it goes back into your pocket,
100%.
back into the pocket.
Yeah.
Or,
to where the money actually is going to the players.
Exactly.
Maybe not directly. That they're not getting a game check.
Yes.
But they're getting taken
But they're
care
getting
of.
something and can all be deferred and everything.
Yeah.
And it could be a huge tax write-off for the university, and like it would be a huge help in boosting like the start of a football player or any athlete's life, right? That would be the number one thing where I would start with like the whole NIL thing, like if I was the university, right? Like,
because I'm sure those first 6 months when you finish playing, it's kind of like, well, now what?
Exactly. I'm still going through it. Like I still haven't found. I'm 2 years out. Like I still haven't figured out like exactly what I want to do after football. Like I'm just like throwing a bunch of shit against the wall and hoping something sticks now, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
But like luckily I have enough where I can live like I want to live,
right.
and like a lot of people don't have that like opportunity, and a lot of people don't have that luxury. Which, I mean, if we had that education and like the stuff to fall back on, where it's like, all right, I'm playing football. Yeah, I'm the backup right guard, right? What's next after football? At least I have this little bit of nest egg that's sitting in here, growing, compounding, all that kind of stuff that in 10, 20 years, if I really need it, I can pull it out and use it for a down payment on a house or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just an idea that like I've been saying forever that that's what the NIL, or not the NIL, but how you can compensate players.
Yeah.
Right. How you can compensate them and get them as part of the profit share or whatever it is. Because then you can go in and be like, hey, if you put in X amount, the university will match it.
Yeah.
Into this 401k or this whatever it is, right? Or you can say up to a certain amount and say you get all this NIL money. Say Marcus just signed a $50,000 NIL deal from transferring from Oregon State to Fresno, which he did not get, which he should have.
Yeah.
But like, okay, hey Marcus, take 10 grand of that, put it in this Roth, put this in the 401k. Fresno State will match it, and then like that's a way to that. Then it's $20,000 tax-free money sitting there when you retire.
Yeah, it's gonna mean way more than the $10,000 you got in that
so
1 year.
Okay, now let's go to the complete opposite side. You were a lineman in what, 2006
to 10.
6 to 10. You were the quarterback, the league champion quarterback who went to
Mountain West Championship.
That's right, baby.
Mountain West champion, one of the best quarterbacks.
Won
to
in
play
Boise for the first time ever
at Fresno State. Like, you're in a completely different boat, right? Lineman, quarterback. Everybody knows quarterback's the number one play. There was one player the last 20 years that hasn't been a quarterback who won the NFL and the MVP. Everybody knows the quarterback is the moneymaker when it comes to football. So how do you feel about this? And have you ever thought of what if we had this back when I was playing, how much money I would have made off of this?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's first off, I'll just answer. I'm a huge advocate for it and completely for NIL. I will say, as far as just getting it going and kind of building it, it's been super fun, and I'm appreciative just with kind of the history I have at Fresno State, having been a former player, kind of won a Mountain West Championship, kind of done that. It's super cool to kind of relive those moments, like talking with donors and boosters and people that were like, oh, we were at the Arizona State game in the Vegas Bowl, or we were at the Boise game, or so that part of it's awesome. I think I play both sides of the spectrum, though, I feel like, because I kind of have a unique perspective on it to where I'm all for NIL. But where it gets difficult from like our perspective is we could choose to play in the transfer portal, right? You could choose to go get a Kenny Wiggins and pay him X amount of dollars. You could choose to go get this guy, transfer and pay him to bring him in. What you can't control is Washington reaching out. This is just an example too. This didn't happen. I just want to say this. But like a Washington or a Power 4 or some kind of school reaching out to your all conference back and saying, hey, we're going to give you $150,000 you come play for us. So then all of a sudden, I know Kenny could attest this, or even you in baseball too. It's one thing to lose the on-the-field production. That's tough, right? But then to have a guy you put 3 years of effort, sweat, he's a leader, replacing that's almost near impossible. If you lose a guy like that to where it's really difficult. And I'd say we want them to stay here for the culture, the winning, the environment, those kind of things. And we want to have some kind of nest egg to keep these guys. But then I say I play kind of devil's advocate too on the other side of it, because I like to think I was a pretty good college football player. And my NFL career was a week of a running camp with the Raiders, and I got a free flight to New Orleans to spend mini camp there for a week. I didn't make any money, but so that's where it's like it's tough for me to where, depending on a kid's family dynamics growing up, like if the family's financial stable and they could speak that long-term vision into a kid and be a mentor and say, hey, this quick $100,000 and you flush in your potential NFL career, because you could go to a Texas for $100,000, but what if you touch the ball 3 times a game versus here you're 70% of the offense and you really have a shot to get to the next league. So but then in that same breath for me, it's like, well, shoot, I didn't make any money in the NFL, so I'm kind of like, well, I probably would have went to go take that money, so I want to say I would have stayed here and done it the right way and been a bulldog and did everything. But it's like, if someone's offering, it's basically like someone having a job. If you're a real estate agent and say they put you on salary, I know that's not how it works, but say you're at your job, you're making $50,000 in the exact same job in another state is, let's say, Tyson, Ken, you don't have to change anything you're doing, but we're going to quadruple your salary. So it's like, it's kind of hard to tell a kid, like, no, stay here. We love you. We're a family. We're a team, So that's where you kind of run into some stuff sometimes.
So how do the smaller schools compete?
You don't.
That's what I'm saying. So
really
if you
hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just think about this.
Yeah, no.
I know.
Let me put in perspective too. So the smaller schools, right? These bigger schools have completely different, because I've had conversations with a lot of them. They have, like, we have recruiting departments, right? That reach out to high school kids, blah, 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 and they recruit kids. These bigger schools have completely separate recruiting departments that are recruiting kids and looking at tape from kids in college that aren't even in the transfer portal. So they're basically reaching out to...
It's like a draft.
They're reaching out to Kenny's...
It's like the NFL draft.
I want Kenny, and I'm at a big school. They reach out to his cousin, his aunt, his uncle, his high school coach, his personal trainer, and say, hey, get in Kenny's ear and tell him we have $200,000 waiting for him if he could get over here. So that's where it's like, well, shoot, like, it's not supposed to be happening that way, but it is. It's happening.
That's what I'm saying.
We're hearing about it.
How do you compete? Let's just think of this. Fresno State puts the best team out there, and it's maybe you have 5 seniors total on the offense and defense, and they go undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna be able to do it again.
No.
Half of those players are leaving, right? It's the best team Fresno State's ever had.
Yep.
Records broken, rushing, passing, sacks, tackles. Everybody's leaving, so they basically have to start all over again. So now, is there even a incentive to want to be good? Like, obviously the name you play to win the game, right? But it's like, as a coach, you're probably looking like, wow, we're on a record-breaking season. We're going to lose all these players next year.
No, and that's
what can we do? Like,
that's where it's hard, especially for Fresno State.
Yeah, because Fresno State always has a good offense every year. They're going to have
Fresno
good
State
skill
always
players.
has a good
They're going to
team.
score.
Always.
So that's where it's tough to where it's like, all right, you want to win, especially when the rankings, like, you want to play at prime time. You want to get eyes on. You want to get national attention. But then in that same breath, it's like, okay,
we don't want them to see our players.
What comes with that, So it's kind of understanding what you're signing up for. So, like you said, I mean, obviously the name of the game is to win, and you want to go out there and win and compete, win championships, play in bowl games. But it's just an ever-changing landscape every day.
And what sucks about like schools like Fresno State is we don't have the depth that these other schools have.
Yeah.
So when like our star safety goes to Oregon, it is a drop off. You know what I mean? It's not like, we got this other 5-star waiting like Alabama. Like, our this guy transferred to
Yeah. You have an attitude
Georgia?
problem, you're benched.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? No, like
Yeah.
that guy behind our star safety,
Yeah.
he's
Zero reps. Never
zero
played
star.
in a game. Never played
You know what I
in front
mean?
of 35,000.
So that's what's hard for Fresno, because we saw it with injuries too, right? Like, this is completely different, but like, if a person gets hurt on like the starting 11 on the offense, one guy gets hurt, that's a huge hole, because that guy was like the only serviceable person that we had for that position.
Right.
But there isn't anybody else moving back in
into
that spot that's just as good. No, it's a huge drop off. And another thing is too, you can't fault these kids for taking the money.
Oh, 100%.
You have to like, because the life expectancy for a football player is so small.
Yeah.
And you have to capitalize on every monetary value that you can as fast as you can, because you never know when because he could transfer that next year and blow his knee out.
Yeah.
And he still got that $100,000 and never play football again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you stuck it out at Fresno State, the old like, oh, I'm doing it for my school, blows his knee out.
Yeah.
No money.
Yeah.
Like, that $100,000 makes a lot more, looks a lot better than zero.
Yeah. So that's where I think it's just, I mean, having enough to take care of the guys to where, and again, I mean, we're talking about big money numbers and different things, but like the cool aspects of NIL too. Like, we got a guy, Kareem McCune. He's originally from Michigan. He's been at Monterey Peninsula JUCO for the last 2 years. He's living in probably 5-10 minutes off of campus, but he has a girlfriend and he has a 1-year-old daughter. And we kind of caught wind at the collective that he was Ubering to practice every day and door dashing his food, and kind of like he didn't have a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, you have situations like that to where now we're in a position where we could partner with a car dealership like Ed Dina's in Danuba, and then they come out and they're like, hey, we could get him a vehicle. And a kid like that is just, it's like a 2020 Malibu.
That's
the
good part of it.
Yeah, we're not
like,
putting them in like a Ferrari or anything like that. You know, we're just getting them, hey, you could get to practice.
You're
so
helping the ones that need help. I think that's the biggest thing. With
so it's like, hey, just little stuff like that. It's like, hey, we got a kid because the collective and because of Bulldog Bread, we're able to get a kid who has a daughter at home to where if he could get his daughter to doctor's appointments or get to practice or get to facilities, versus me and Kenny played. Someone got us a car, we'd be like, no. Like, I don't want a car. You know, so stuff like that. So just making it more accessible for guys. It's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know what you and Marcus would have needed and would have changed your life?
What's that?
Magic Mind for sure.
This little stuff right here,
probably
Marcus. You can tell that we
probably would have threw a couple more touchdowns.
You already have yours.
Threw a couple more touchdowns, dude.
You would have been focused. I don't know if it would make your arm stronger. You already had a pretty strong arm. But this stuff right here, Productive, is the world's first productivity shot. It's so good. I'm going to have Kenny Wiggins read the ingredients because he's so good. I'm passing it.
I don't even know where it is.
Look at this. So basically this is just...
We got matcha for the energy. We got... I'm not saying that one. Ashwagandha.
That's Kenny's favorite word.
That's my favorite. Lion's mane mushrooms. A bunch of other mushrooms.
So it's nootropics, caffeine for energy, ashwagandha, and it basically evens you out, right? So instead of taking caffeine to where you're all amped up and then you're like anxiety and you have the jitters, it has ashwagandha to help you with like the anxiety, so you feel productive, and it takes the caffeine and just like extends it throughout the day, so you feel good all day. But then you have the nootropics, that's Kenny's second favorite word, to help you focus, and it's healthy for your gut, healthy mind, healthy life. Kenny, if they want to get some for themselves, what do they do?
Go to magicmind.com/1degreepodcast. Use the
1 degree.
1 degree. Use the code 1degree20. You get 20% off.
Yeah, and if you sign up and use the code, so if you sign up for the subscription, you get 50-something% off. 56% off, and then an additional 20% off if you use our code 1degree20 at checkout.
That's like 80% off.
Yeah, it's a good deal. They have them at Sprouts if you want to try them. Go get some at Sprouts. I drink it every day. It just makes me not dumb. Pretty good, huh?
That's pretty.
It's always nice to be a little less dumb.
That's huge. That's
your
huge.
computer back?
So, I think Magic Mind would have helped. But see, like, you wouldn't have been able to do this if there wasn't NIL. You wouldn't even be able to like accept like, hey, try this and just give our discount code out.
I think
Right?
there's
Oh, yeah.
I think there's $1. No, you couldn't say discount code.
Right?
But you could
No.
you
That's
could be
what I'm
like,
saying.
hey, try this, Marcus. But
You can
like,
try it, but
I'm saying, like,
hey,
do it on the internet. No.
Yeah, I couldn't put it
Go
on
on your
social
Instagram,
media. Yeah.
tag the link, and
Yeah.
say that you can use
Yeah,
our
no.
thing. They could, even though they weren't getting paid, they
Yeah.
still couldn't do
I
that.
could casually hand it to you, like Kenny said, and just be like, "Hey, you should try this." But I couldn't like use my platform or social medias to say, "Hey, check this out, and here's my discount code."
Yeah, which,
Yeah.
I don't know. My big thing is I want the money to go. Like the money that they're making should go to them. This
But-
doesn't really fix the problem, but then at the same time, it fixes the issue that was going on before.
I think there needs to be some sort of like rule, right? Some sort of profit share, but also you have to realize football is making all the money for the school.
Yeah.
For
all
every college.
For everyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
Well,
every college.
outside of maybe like Duke, Kentucky, like there's
Yeah.
but
still,
But
like,
I
but
even
still.
they're
football,
probably
because
making a
you
lot
can
more
fit
still.
more
Yeah.
fans in a game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So football is the driving force for all of athletics,
Yeah.
right? So if you
And
want to have a
academics,
baseball
too.
team, if you want to have a basketball team, if you want to have all these other
All the
sports
scholarships come
Yeah.
from that too.
from football,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's the moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be, it's going to be like, oh, every dollar that the football team makes goes to the football team. Like, no, like we got to be a team player when it
Yeah.
comes to university and spread that money out to the volleyball players and the soccer team.
Well,
and all
yeah,
kind
but
of
that
stuff.
money is not getting spread out at all. Still,
Well, like the Fresno State football program is pretty much paying for, like, who pays for the travel for the soccer team? Fresno
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who pays for the travel for the basketball team?
Yeah, and
You
I've
know what I
had
mean?
conversations with people too,
Yeah.
and you start seeing a school, you see the football team start having success, winning games, going to bowl games, winning championships.
all
You'll
do.
start seeing academic buildings shooting up. They'll
Yep.
start building stuff
No
because
doubt.
they have excess money coming in now. That's going when we go to a bowl game, the university gets money. When we go to a championship, the university gets money. To where obviously it's getting spread around. Everyone gets some of it. Football gets it. Everyone gets it. But kind of like Kenny's saying, football's the driving factor and force for a lot of it. To where I think to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like the first thought that came to my mind as far as like profit sharing, when I was playing at Fresno State, I saw my jersey everywhere. Like number 6 was everywhere in the crowd. I would see it. I'd look up, see my jersey everywhere. I wasn't making any money off of it, So it's like, and not that I'm saying that it's $35. I don't need to make $20 on every jersey, but it's like I wasn't even getting like $1. Like, hey, you sold 2,000 jerseys this year. Here's $2,000. Like
Yeah.
that would have been amazing,
why couldn't they just like save that money and give you a little bit after your career, after your college?
Because his
career?
name wasn't on the back. It wasn't Marcus McMarion jersey.
Yeah,
it was just
my
a number 6
Yeah,
jersey.
it wasn't my jersey. It was just a Fresno State jersey that just happened to be
Number
number
6.
6 of our starting quarterback.
So now can the players, like the bigger players, are their numbers on the back? Can they sell their own jerseys like
yeah.
in the shop?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't
so a lot of them have brand deals.
Oh,
and
they
stuff
do?
now.
Okay,
Yeah, so they
okay.
work. It's really a small percentage of what they're
Yeah.
getting, but it's a step in the right
But I
direction.
mean, like
toward
I'm
getting
sure, like what's the quarterback for USC? I'm sure they're selling his jersey in the.
stuff. Yeah, but I mean, and you
Does he
get
get
guys
that
like that,
money?
like Caleb Williams. I mean, he has brand deals with like
Yeah, he's
Wendy's
making-
and,
Carl's
like,
Jr.
Yeah,
He's
Carl's
making money.
Jr., Yeah,
But I'm saying, like, is he? Okay, so is that part of NIL or is that part of the team? Like, is he making money off of his jersey sales?
yeah, potentially. I mean, if he has it worked out with him, then yeah. But I think the whole NIL is. It's allowing him to have a Carl's Jr. commercial. It's allowing him to have.
Well, he's
a
the
Wendy's
biggest one,
commercial.
right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
one. In,
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
so I mean,
college
you have,
sports.
and I think that's just the biggest thing to where we try to educate people on the most. Again, I said it multiple times already. It's like you have outliers. Like those guys are crushing it, dude. They're
Yeah.
making tons of money. But it's almost, I mean, the NFL is kind of like that too. You probably have
Yeah, it's
5
the
or
same.
6 guys that are really raking it in.
Oh, yeah.
Making
And then
for
everyone
sure.
everyone else is, granted, the minimum, they're making a lot of money
Yeah.
compared to the everyday person, but they probably feel broke compared to the guys that are really
For
making
sure.
it, So
For sure.
it's like, oh, this
When you
guy's
see- when you
check
see-
is $2 million
Yes.
and mine is like whatever 50,000, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, so it's the
That
same. I mean,
happens.
you kind of have a couple outliers and stuff like that, but I mean, for the most part, every guy's kind of just making a decent kind of couple bucks here and there to do it.
All right, here's a fun question. So have some fun with it.
All right,
You,
here we go.
if you were playing right now, or if this existed when you were playing, again, one of the best quarterbacks in Fresno State history, how much do you think you would have made? Because you're here for 2 years.
Yeah.
How much total do you think you would have made being the starting quarterback at Fresno State?
I have a backup question, so after you finish.
I think for me personally, just like
and also based on what you know, because you're seeing the inside of it. So how much? Because you look back, like man, I could have. Because I know you've done this.
Yeah.
How much could I have made? I could have done this. I could have done this. Okay, now all that stuff that's been playing.
Yeah. I personally I think a very conservative number. I think I could have made multiple six figures while I was playing here easily.
Easy.
And I say that, and I'll kind of preface it with saying when I was transferring, I had schools like Texas and Iowa and Oregon and Utah and San Jose and Hawaii and Fresno all reach out to me when I was transferring. I thought I was going to have like super rinky-dink small schools like Big Sky schools or something. Nothing, no diss to them, but just smaller like FCS schools I thought were going to reach out to me. So I was actually kind of surprised when some of these really big schools reached out to me. In my heart of hearts, I want to say I love Fresno State to death. I would have came to Fresno, but in like the NIL era now, I know guys that are transferring that I've heard they're making $900,000 or $1 million as a quarterback, a good proven quarterback, transferring, making $1 million, and they're covering the rent and they're getting them a car and like basically you're coming here to play football, like you're a professional basically.
So you're pretty much saying you after knowing what you know now.
It'd been really difficult for me to come here.
It would have been difficult to come here, and you would have made more money at another school, not here.
Correct.
Based on what you know now.
Yeah. 100%.
And how do you feel about that now?
It's tough, man. It sucks, honestly. I think, especially when it first came out, because I was obviously when I was going to school, there was kind of whispers of it, like, "Hey, it's gonna happen." Like, "Hey, it's gonna happen. It might happen next year." So that was the tough part of it. To where that was kind of a tough pill to swallow when it actually came out and guys were starting to make money. That was really hard. Now that I'm 4 or 5 years removed from college, I'm like, oh, that was a while ago now. It's not a big deal for me now. But I think it kind of helps me and motivates me. I feel like to pour into like, dang, if I couldn't make any money, at least I could try to make a bunch of money for these guys, you know? So it's like, it sucks though. But again, it's encouraging for me to be like, I didn't get it. I just missed the boat. It sucks. Put your big boy pants on. Go help these guys as much as you can. Yeah.
Do you think that the NIL, or in your personal shoes, is a distraction to the level of play that is coming from like college players now, right? Where do you think they're more worried about getting their bag, or they're worried about playing? Because because me and you were playing, it was like all our focus is football.
For sure.
Right? We didn't have to worry about all this other shit and all this other this money coming in. Oh, I got to go to this car dealership to make an appearance and go to this restaurant or whatever it is to go get a couple $100, sign all these autographs.
Yeah.
And now do you think it's taking away from the game a little bit?
Yeah. No, for sure, to an extent. I think it can be distracting. I will say that, I mean, you played at Fresno State. I played at Fresno State. You don't get those kind of prima donna kind of attitude guys at Fresno State.
That's true.
To where I can see it being a really big problem at like a big market USC.
And it was.
Yeah. So I could see that being a really big deal at big schools like that. Or even like me being at Oregon State. I mean, I had like some conversation with guys. I remember being at workouts and the coach is yelling at him and he's getting all sad and he's like, "Oh, that's why I should have went to Texas Tech." Like, you don't hear that at Fresno State. Like, nobody has offers like that at Fresno State, you know? And again, not to knock anybody at Fresno, but, like, you get Gatorade Players of the Year and, like,
there's a reason why they're at Fresno State.
Yeah. But at the Power 5 or Power 4 schools, you got guys with 35, 50 offers. Most guys at Fresno State might have between 1 and maybe 10 offers, you know? To where it's kind of a 3-star guys, kind of under the radar guys, where there's not a ton of 5-star dudes that are coming to Fresno. And that's just, I mean, it's just, we know what market we're in and we're recruiting those 3-star guys to where, for Fresno personally, I don't think it's affecting the culture a ton.
Okay.
But I can see it, NIL, in the scheme of things across the country, probably kind of creating some disruption in a locker room.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah. You know,
I mean, because, like, it is true. When you first asked it, I'm like, heck yeah. It's, like, it's a distraction for the big schools, and how you mentioned it, like, it was a distraction for USC. Like, he was on ESPN and they were ripping him, and it's like, you know, a 19, 21-year-old kid, you don't get that very often. Like when you're in the big leagues or in the NFL, you start to get it, but college players haven't gotten it, and when they did, it was almost unfair because it was a kid. That kid's getting paid to go to school. He doesn't know any better. Now they're not seen as those kids, students anymore. Now they're seen as somebody making millions of dollars. Yeah. So now you have a 18 to 21-year-old kid that's making millions of dollars that they're seen in a different light from the fans. Now they're almost like in the baseball world when these 17-year-old kids sometimes are getting $3 or $4 million. 18, 19, 20 years old. We had Jake on, and he had to deal with this having millions of dollars as an 18-year-old kid going across the country on his own, and all of his players dislike him because he was a first-round pick. And it's a hard thing. And now the football players are starting to see that, to where Caleb Williams making $3-point-something million to play at Fresno State, you have to know that people are talking about it in the locker room. Yeah, right. 100%. Like he leaves early. I already know he leaves early. Oh, he's probably going doing a shoot for Carl's Jr. Yeah. Right. Like it has to kind of break up the team a little bit, because before this, everybody was grinding the same way. Yeah. Everybody was in the same boat. The only reason why it was easy for you is because that you had money from your parents. Yeah. Right. But everybody was in the same boat. Now everybody's not in the same boat anymore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that could definitely be difficult. And I think that's where, again, it's just you're trying to protect the culture, but at the same point, it's inevitable, I feel like, to where there are going to be, again, I try to compare it as much as I can to an NFL locker room because it's something that's established and's been going on. I mean, Kenny could probably speak to it more than I can because I never really played at that level, just for a short time. But like, you have guys making millions of dollars, and I kind of saw it happen when I was at rookie minicamp with the Raiders. Like, Hunter Renfrow would run a route, make a mistake, and it's like, oh, it's okay, Hunter, come here. But you let a dude that wasn't on the team like run the wrong route. You stupid mother, you'll never play here, blah blah blah. You know, so it's like, and it's true, but it's like, I get it. You invested millions of dollars into this dude. He's gonna get kind of coddled and like, it's okay, come here. Whereas you went through it. I mean, as an undrafted guy or doing things like, you got to prove yourself every single day to where it's, I don't know, it's like you kind of just have to swallow the reality of it and kind of,
I think it's better though. Like when you have to prove yourself, your life's going to be better. When you don't have to, you're going to run into struggles during your career, after your career, because now you're running into the reporters that are asking those questions because you messed up. Maybe it wasn't a physical error, it was a mental error. Yeah. But now they're ripping you. And you didn't go through those struggles like, he did trying to make a team. You were already there. Now you're dealing with it way more. And then after the game, or like after your career, you're dealing with like the same things. Yeah. Which when you struggle early in anything, you know that you're gonna basically, you have that curve, right? You're just gonna go up, and then you have success because you struggled. So I think that the NIL is helping the kids where they don't have to struggle like they did before. But then there's still players that are living the same as if this still didn't exist. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think there'll definitely be some reins and lines drawn. I feel like the NCAA, they'll have to get involved to some extent.
And they are, right? Like they're meeting with this constantly, the same as they're doing with the playoff system, and they're trying to do the rankings.
But it's almost like, they opened the can of worms to where now I think it's just like, well, how do you rein it back in at this point? Because then it's
I don't think the worms are ever coming back into this. Because how do you do it?
Like I don't think the guys will never stop getting paid in college. That's never going away. And I think to have conversations with like Tedford, who's such an old school traditional coach and not a huge fan of it when it began, to hear him say this isn't going anywhere and we need to like figure this out, that's when I knew like, oh, this is real. Like this isn't just like a rumor going around, it's gonna flutter and then it's gonna disappear. Like this is here to stay, to where it's like, we need this to be competitive now. Like NIL now is a huge vital part of your university's success now.
I think what happens is people compare it to professional sports. You automatically just start comparing it to the NFL. Mm-hmm. And there's 32 teams in the NFL. How many Division I football programs is there? Hundreds, right?
125, something like that.
So you're dealing with a lot more teams, a lot more money, a lot more players, a lot more kids. And
I think where the cap has to come, where Kenny was kind of saying where they have to get involved, is essentially, if you want to compare it to the NFL again, it's the NFL, but every year everyone's a free agent. So it's like, how do you maintain any kind of roster stability? You know, it's like
So,
Kenny's a kick-ass guard and we have him, but he might be gone next year. So if I lose Kenny, how am I going to replace Kenny? How am I, you know? So it's like, there's not like, oh, Kenny's on a 2-year contract. He'll be here till his junior year. Like, I don't have to worry about that position, you know? So that's where there's going to have to be some kind of implementation and reign set.
Because
to
right now,
control it.
technically, you can play 4 years at 4 different schools.
Yeah,
Yep.
and there's 2 different, and it's crazy now. So this is the part I don't like about the transfer portal is that you have a quarterback like Dylan Gabriel who was at UCF and is a stud, bro. He's really good. I think he played as a true freshman at UCF, balled out. So he goes to Oklahoma, gets a bigger bag at Oklahoma, balls out at Oklahoma. Now he's at Oregon. So it's like 3 years he's gone to 3 different schools. Not because when we would play, he would transfer because the coaches hate me or whatever. I'm not playing. I'm not getting an opportunity. Now it's like, hey, you don't get an opportunity, a kid's going to transfer. You go and play good, a kid's going to transfer. So now it's kind of like, well,
and
what
there's
the heck?
no
you know?
repercussion for transferring. Either,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like, which when I was playing off this,
It was like that
It was
with me
though
too,
you
yeah.
have to sit a year out
Yeah.
when you transfer, like
Unless you
unless
graduated.
you, or unless you go to a JC
Yeah.
or you go D2 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Which I like that rule.
Yeah. Because
Like,
it makes you think about
It
it.
makes you makes you like, okay, like if I'm gonna go to this school, I'm gonna have to be here for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Or at least 1 year, and then if I want to transfer again, I'm gonna have to sit out a year.
Yeah.
Like, why not bring that rule back? I don't understand why that rule changed.
And even from like the coach's perspective too, that's really difficult. Like I'm thinking if I was a head coach in college right now, it's like, okay, typically you could probably agree with me. The 1s and the 2s get basically all the reps. Maybe the 3s, if you're lucky, you'll get like 2 plays at the end of the team or something like that. You know, a little session here and there. But now it's like, if you don't rotate the 3s in somehow, they're just gonna be like, oh, this place sucks, I'm gonna transfer. So now it's like you have to incorporate the freshman kid to kind of show him a little bit of love and feel like he's getting the rotation. Versus when I played, if you're a 3, you're not playing, bro. Like, go take reps in the back and visualize and feel like you're taking a rep. Like, you're not getting reps.
Yep.
To where now it's like, okay, well, now if you have a decent freshman kid who's a 3, where he probably should be because there's redshirt juniors and seniors that have been in college for 4 or 5 years, but you can't tell that to a freshman kid because they're like, oh, well, I was All-American at my high school, or you know, to where it's like I had that understanding coming in. Like, these are guys. I'm 17 years old. There's guys here that are 21, 22 years old that have been in college. I'm probably not going to play my freshman year, you know. But now I think kids are coming in like, if I'm not playing my first year, I'm going to transfer. And I think that's where it's like a really fine line and hard for coaches right now.
Yeah.
So how do you see it? What do you think needs to happen if somebody came to you and be like, Marcus, you had to make a decision. You had to make the decision. How do we fix this transferring team to team? And you had to answer it right now. What would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't know exact stipulations. I would say like parameters. There would have to be some kind of guideline on the amount of times you could transfer. So maybe you could transfer once. That'd be ideal. And if you did transfer, putting some kind of repercussion on it to where it's not just the Wild West and kids just transfer. Just like, hey, like when I was transferring, I was able to play right away because I graduated. So maybe adding some kind of incentive like that for a kid. Like, hey, if you graduate, knock yourself out, you could transfer wherever you want. To where I believe that's still in place now. But again, it's kind of where kids could transfer wherever. So one, I'd say adding parameters on the amount of times you could transfer, because no one should be able to transfer from UCF to Oklahoma to Oregon and just kind of keep like climbing the ladder like that.
It's almost like he went single A, double A, triple
Yeah,
A. And then
yeah.
next year he's gonna go to LSU or Bama.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So it's like putting parameters on that. And I think Kenny, kind of knocked it out of the park with, I think it makes the most sense to just let guys profit share. And then how that delegation and the numbers and the logistics of it. I think that's the difficult part about it. Is it going to take some brain power? Yes. Are people going to have multiple meetings on it? Yes. But I think from a university perspective, that's the easiest to where, I don't know, maybe they just make them a W-2 employee of the school.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That'd be my guess.
So the rules now is, because Marcus said you get one transfer.
New rules for everyone.
No, you get to transfer again if you want, but you have to sit out. Unless you graduate, then you can transfer and play. So those are the new rules. You get one transfer. You can transfer again if you graduate. Don't have to sit out. But if you want to transfer again and you haven't graduated, You don't get that.
I'd,
Well, I mean,
I'd
I get-
stamp my name by that.
Technically, you can still get paid, right? If you have to sit out, like you can use your
You could, but you
name,
have to
image,
sit
and
out.
likeness, but you have to
sit
sit.
out a year.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
see, nobody's really getting hurt there.
And I think that's where, like, we're talking about the NCAA or somebody putting some reins on it to where you had a quarterback for Texas, Quinn, I think I'm going to butcher his last name, it's like Ewers or something like
Yeah.
that. He had went out of high school to Ohio State and had like a $1.5 million deal or something he did,
I heard
right?
about this, yeah.
Right out of high school. And then he transfers to Texas, and his family was, I think, doing all right financially. They hired attorneys and all this to where he was obligated that money that was guaranteed him at Ohio State. So Ohio State was paying him while he was at Texas, even though he wasn't at Ohio State anymore.
Just like all the
yeah.
big leaguers that are getting paid from their
Yeah.
other teams. And
Yeah.
then they're just using that money to defer money. It's
So
good.
then there's like that where it's like there's got to be some kind of rein and stipulations on it, but
And it is your name, image, and likeness, right? Like, isn't Arch Manning the second highest paid
Mhm.
college player, and doesn't
Yeah.
even play?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, because your dad or what your
I don't
both
even
of your
know.
uncles are
yeah,
some of the greatest quarterbacks ever play,
yeah.
And Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
and
Played
Grandpa.
too.
Well, I wouldn't say he was.
He wasn't great, but he played.
If he probably wasn't on
He
the
started
Saints,
it.
I think that he would have been a little bit
Had
better.
a great branch come from him,
Right.
huh? Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. All right, you ready for it?
I'm ready for it. I'm a
All
little
right,
nervous.
so we in these with
I think I know what's coming. And
10 questions.
Okay.
Okay, it's
There
the
we go.
same 10 questions. So if you've listened to one episode,
All right.
you know what they are,
All right.
but we know that you don't support, so it's cool. I don't have to tell you. No, I'm kidding. Marcus actually does.
That's right.
So how this is going to work? You have 1 minute.
All right.
I'm going to ask you 10 questions. You have to answer them as fast as you can and the best answer that you can.
Okay.
But the caveat here is he's going to judge you on 0 through 10. Now, we have a list of the ranking system, right? The last two haven't done very well.
No.
Okay, so there's even more pressure on you, okay?
All right. Let's win, baby.
So Izzy's got the clock.
I'll tell you what. This dude, when I
Let's win,
first met this dude, he was training for the combine, and I would go out there and get some snaps. I was
that's
work
right,
with
yeah.
him as a center. Confident dude.
Dude.
I got high hopes for this.
Gotta
right
be,
now.
Okay.
dude.
Confident dude.
Okay.
Gotta be, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be good?
Izzy's,
All right, Izzy,
Time to use your noggin.
you got the clock? All right, give me a countdown. You ready?
1, 2, 3.
Other than football, what is your favorite sport?
Baseball.
If you can only eat one thing all day, every day, what would it be?
Kiwi.
Most famous contact in your phone.
Derek Carr.
If you were a potato, how would you like to be cooked?
I don't know. Well done.
Oh my god.
What is
3 things you're bringing with you on a deserted island.
watermelon, water, and steak.
Team you hate the most in all sports, professional sports.
The Yankees.
Favorite non-sports movie.
Oh, this is tough. Jumper. That's a good
Dinner
movie.
with any sports star, dead or alive, who is it with?
Derek Jeter.
If you were a stripper, what would your stripper name be?
Oh. I don't even want to answer this because Marquela or something like that. I don't know.
Taylor Swift or Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson.
Okay, he saved it. He saved it there at the end. Izzy,
Easy.
111. Okay, 11.
That was
2.
rough.
So you get 0.4. We'll round up to a 0.4 off of your score.
That was
See, the thing here is
How do you want to
Kenny's
cook a potato?
Kenny's
That's
a
baked,
mashed,
fried,
French fried.
Oh, dude, you
Come
should have
on.
gave me something. I was like,
Hey,
"Bake
that's not
a
the second one because
potato."
Carson, the race car driver, he goes to an internal temperature of 195.
Oh, dang. That's an answer right there, man.
Oh my
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh,
dude, that was rough.
I think
No,
the
that's
streaks.
that's
think
such a
the streaks
simple
stink.
question now that I think about it. Now that it's
Right?
not
See what
like
I'm
on the
saying?
pressure cooker, it's like, oh, mashed or something like that. You know, it's
See
like,
what I'm
oh,
saying?
yeah, okay, I got you. You know,
Yeah.
Kiwi?
I like-
Kiwi? You're gonna eat
dude,
kiwi?
that was my
Kenny did
worst
not
answer.
like
No.
But
I
then he
literally
said that
went.
he's-
I went. I went blank, bro. No,
says-
watermelon's good though.
And then
'Cause I
he
was like,
says-
you
I
could
love
eat it and stay
watermelon.
hydrated.
No,
so
but
I was
then
like,
he's taking.
okay.
But then he said he's taking steak to the deserted island. I'm like, what? What are we doing? You don't want
steak.
kiwis? You cook the steak. Take this steak.
Steak was a good answer. You know,
Dark.
pre-done
All right,
steak.
come on,
Could
on,
make
Wiggins.
a fire, dude.
Come on,
Cheater,
Wiggins. What do you
alright.
think?
I can make
Cheater,
a fire.
okay.
Cheater, yeah, that's a good
No,
one.
I'm a cheater fan.
Yeah, cheater's a
Respect.
good one. Yeah.
I'm just
Tip your
gonna
hat.
let everybody know Kenny's not very good at this judging thing.
I'm calculating in my head, bro. That was
The
bad.
Kiwi one was bad.
Well, at least you know you did bad.
And we're 0.4 off of it too.
0.4 off, yeah.
I'm going 4.8.
What's this out of?
10.
10.
Oh, damn. I was like, dang, 5? Not
Yeah,
too
it's kind of
bad.
like the pizza reviews too. So
Okay.
if you're in the 8s, you're outstanding.
Yeah.
If you're in the 5s, you're bad. It's basically 7 and 8 is where you want to be, and you're not there, buddy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Have you guys taken this yourself?
We created it, yeah.
No, have you taken it on
Yes.
camera yourself?
Yes, I got 9.9. He got 9.0.
Hmm.
No, how could we do it ourselves? We
Yeah,
asked the
we're-
question. We
it's a
know
bit-
the
It's a bit
answers.
cooked. Dude, there's something about answering the question when you know you have a minute on the clock.
See what I'm saying?
You know,
See, we need to.
Dude, what's up with the quarterbacks we have in here? Pinelli sucked. You suck.
Yeah,
we need to get
Greg.
Bray. We need to get Brady here and see if he can do
Let's
it.
get, yeah.
yeah.
No. We
He's
can't
up
tell him though
next.
because then he'll go
All right,
practice and
we
then we
won't.
can't
We
do
won't.
it.
We won't tell him.
I'll help you. I'll help
man,
you out,
that's
Bray.
it. That's
I'll
it.
slip you
Appreciate
the
you guys
questions.
tuning in. Go follow Marcus, the real MM2,
Yeah.
on Instagram. And if people want to donate and help out with this, how do they get in contact with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so if you want to just go directly to the website, it's at www.bulldogbread.com, or we just have Bulldog Bread NIL on Instagram and on Twitter.
Nice. Very nice. Follow Marcus. Follow us, 1 Degree TP, Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe it. If you're listening and you like it, tell your friends about it. Let them listen. And we'll see you guys next time. We're gonna find somebody that's gonna get into the 9s with these answers.
I think
Maybe.
so. I
Maybe.
believe we can.
You believe it?
Deepest
I don't
condolences.
know. All right, Izzy, hit us with the theme music now. Kid
That's
is the
Izzy's
same
favorite part.
every time.
That's Izzy's favorite part.